Good to meet you in person, or at least in remote person.
Yeah, good to meet you as well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and thanks to Gia for for setting this up. So
Always.
I was hoping I you were on Eli's podcast a little bit ago.
I
Actually,
was.
that must have been like a year ago, maybe.
It was a year
I
ago.
remember listening to
Yeah,
that
when I was there for
yeah.
Philly Chefs Conference.
Are you going this year, by the way?
I'm not.
To the chef
No, I
conference?
think it's actually happening right now. No, we
It
just
starts
came
on
off
Friday.
of a Oh, it does. Okay. We just came off of a restaurant opening in Las Vegas, and we have French Quarter Festival this weekend in New Orleans that I'm doing a bunch of stuff for. So
Oh yeah, so you're jammed. All right.
yeah.
This is my
Yeah.
first time going to the chef conference. So
Oh, it is. It's great.
it'd be fun. Sorry.
Last year I was there. It was a lot of fun. A lot of great people go.
Yeah, I'm moderating a panel with on menu development with some of the folks from Noma and a couple cocktail person and Ariel
Cool.
Johnson. Should be a lot of fun.
That sounds like fun.
Anyways, let's talk about you. I want to start, if it's cool, with a little bit of your background, and not too much, because if it's okay, I have a lot of questions on some of the work you're doing with the rescue recipes and things like that.
Yeah.
But maybe just if you don't mind teeing up a little bit of your background coming to the States. I know you didn't speak English when you got here.
Yeah.
Grew up in Philly, from what I've heard.
Yeah.
But maybe just a little like winding us up on your background up into getting to where you are now.
Yeah. I was born in Israel when I was 4. My family immigrated to America, and I grew up outside of Philly, outside of downtown Philly, and from a very young age, really connected the foods that my grandmother was cooking in our kitchen with uh, my feeling like normal again, like everything was kind of up in the air when we first came to America. I didn't speak English, being 4 years old, being put into a new school. By the time I was 5, my parents had split up. So my mom was working 2 jobs and raising my sister and I on her own. And so
That's nuts, man. I can't
a lot
imagine
of,
I can't
yeah,
imagine being 4 and having all that happen all at once. I mean, I'm worried about my kid, just going from pre-K to
right.
kindergarten. You're talking about going to a new country and your
Yeah,
parents splitting up
imagine.
all at the same time. That's
Because
insane.
we have a 3-year-old, and everything is just so fragile when it comes to feelings and like understanding what's happening. And so, I was just being put through the ringer at that age. And when my Saba and my Safta, which are my grandparents, when they would come to visit us from Israel to take care of my mom and to help her kind of navigate through this crazy time in her life. My grandmother would cook, my Safta would cook. And when in those moments, I felt like, life was back to the way I felt comfortable with it being, because the smells and the flavors and all of the things that I remembered from like when life was, normal in Israel, were coming back to me. And they would like, we were so poor, there would be like an influx of money into the house. Like, we would get an air conditioner, or they would take us out for Chinese food, or something would happen every time they would come to visit that made our lives better. So from a really young age, I really connected my grandmother and her cooking to feeling like, I could be myself again, and I could feel a sense of normalcy and comfort and family again. So that's kind of how I fell in love with food from a really young age, and grew up in Philly. I began working in restaurants when I was 13 years old. Got into a lot of trouble in high school, really kind of created a lot of problems for people, including myself, and barely was able to stay in school. But my home economics teacher, Donna Barnett, really came along and saved my life and helped me navigate my way towards my career in culinary arts. Uh, I ended up going to the Culinary Institute of America right after high school. But it was a really windy road getting there. And once I almost flunked out of high school, but I graduated, with almost straight A's and perfect attendance in culinary school. So, I just needed to, be guided to the right place. And once I was, there was really no turning back.
Yeah. You cut off for a second, but um,
Oh, sorry.
it's so funny. No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I heard it all. There's a little bit of getting cut off every once in a while, but it is interesting how you know there's this common thread of when there's enough suffering, it does tend to sort of create this 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 more entrepreneurial spirit, and then when you couple that with like food being some sort of safety net when you're younger, it's a really interesting formula of how you get to where someone like you are today. It's funny, I resonate a lot with that. With that, my father passed away when I was young. I got into drugs, probably almost died a number of times from doing way too
Hmm.
much ecstasy and all kinds of other things.
Hmm.
Almost went to jail a couple times, and then ended up,
Hmm.
entering a contest, got into culinary school, and if I hadn't gone to culinary school, I probably would not be where I am today.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but that like struggle also created this like this constant need for like um for continuing to do more so I don't get back to that place. I'm curious
Right.
if you ever think
Right.
about how much you went through as a kid, because it's funny, you talk about like, oh, my safta came and cooked, and so it reminded me of the early days, but like you were still 4 or 5 years old, man. So like your
Yeah.
life was basically still kind of starting, so you had a lot of strife from a pretty early age. And you are, as I look at your background and also all the things that you've done, all these restaurants you've created, but not just restaurants, but books and the and the philanthropy that you're doing, and just the way that you go about um a lot of people go to the Holocaust Museum. A lot of people see all of that,
Hmm.
suffering in something like that. A lot of us
Hmm.
have family in Israel or had family in the Holocaust,
Hmm.
but not many people would see that and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to actually do something about this. I'm going to start this whole new, organization." So there's something in you that's like this catalyst to keep creating and doing more of these things. I'm curious if you think that part of that is because of all the suffering you went through when you were younger.
Well, I think that for me, I always used my love of food and cooking um, as my one-way ticket, whether it was into something, out of something, where I wanted to go. Like I, I have always used my ability to cook and make people happy with food uh, to my advantage in a way. And my advantage with the experience with rescued recipes and beginning my friendship with Steven Fenves and now we've raised a lot of money for the Holocaust Museum, about $750,000. Um, that my advantage in that scenario is that it brings me joy. It makes me happy, and it creates a relationship, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something greater than, just cooking dinner for someone, or, talking to talking to a reporter, or, opening a restaurant. Like, those things are all great. And it's what I do for a living. And I don't discount that at all, but I've always seen my ability to cook and connect through food as a way to get more out of life, and to get more out of my experiences in life. And I didn't realize when I came across the Fenves family cookbook at the Holocaust Museum that, we were going to start a national tour and raise all this money. Really, my goal out of it was I wanted to cook Steven Fenves, his mother's recipes, for the first time in 80 years, for him to taste. And that was all that I was looking to do, was to just kind of create a connection there, because I felt passionate about it. And
How did you get a hold of him?
so years and years ago, I was in Israel, and I was at the Yad Vashem Museum, and I saw an exhibit. Well, we were there with like a culinary group, and they showed us all of these kind of culinary artifacts from the Holocaust. And one of them was this kind of ripped up cloth that had all of these women's signatures on it, and little pictures of like radishes and Shabbat candles, and like a little pot of steaming food, of soup or something like that. And it was all hand drawn. And I was like, where is this from? What is this about? And it turned out that it was a kind of like a cooking club in a concentration camp, of women that would get together and fantasize
What?
about like having a meal, right? And like cooking their
Wow.
family's favorite dinner, or serving their son his favorite dessert, or using their grandmother's china and silver. And they would sit around, and like, while they were starving to death and in concentration camp, they would have these fantasy meals, and they would journal of all of it, and they would write it down. And all these women would get together, and they would do this regularly, routinely, and they were part of this kind of like, cooking club, if you will, at the same time that they were being killed, and so it just was a moment that really moved me, and made me think about just the power of food. And it made me think a lot about the power of food in my life, and like what food and my love of cooking and my love of food has been able to, what doors it's been able to open for me, and what paths it's been able to create for me. And so I was telling this to a friend of mine at a party in New Orleans, and she said, I have a friend at the museum in DC, and you should call them and see what they have. And so I did. And a week later, we were in DC, and we were looking at all of their culinary artifacts, if you will, in their collections
Yeah.
department. Uh, and and we came across the Fenves family cookbook, and they said, Stephen is still alive. He contributes regularly to the museum. If you'd like, we can put you in touch with him. And so I was like, yeah, I would love to, because I really would love like a first person narrative around this his experiences, and why this cookbook exists in his life. And
Yeah.
and so we started talking and became friends, and I learned the story of how this family heirloom was able to survive the war. Their family cook, saved it from their apartment when they were being sent off to Auschwitz. And after he survived, the book was returned to him and his sister. And then when his sister passed away in 2012, decades and decades after the war, they donated the book to the museum, and it was there in a filing cabinet, being preserved, but not looked at. And then I come across
Yeah.
it, and I connect with Steven, and he begins translating the recipes from Hungarian to English. And I began cooking the food and sending it to him. And he was eating his mother's cooking for the first time in 80 years. And his
Wait, what do you mean
mother,
sending it to him?
well, when we began collaborating together on this cookbook, it was during COVID. So I, I had to
Oh,
pretty
gotcha.
much prep everything, put it in a box, and mail it to him um, in Maryland because there was no being together in person and sharing a meal together in person during the heat of COVID. So we had an idea to do like an event together at the museum and create some of the recipes or cook some of the recipes and bring people in and have Steven share his story and share the story of Marish, who was their family cook that saved the book. And then COVID happened, and we had to instead pivot to doing a Facebook Live event, which in
Mm-hmm.
one way was a real blessing because, I think it's gotten close to 200,000 views or so on Facebook. And that moment with Steven tasting the food on Facebook Live was the first time he was tasting those recipes in 80 years, and his mother
Do you
didn't
mind?
survive Auschwitz.
I just don't want to forget. I'm going to make a note. Is that still something that's available to watch? Like, can we go watch that? That
Oh
did it?
yeah.
Was it like?
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
you said
yeah.
it was
If
live,
it's
but
on the
all right. I'm just going to
no,
make a
for
note.
sure. It's on the we'll send you a link to it so that you can see
Yeah,
it. But it's
I'll
on
make a note and ask you for that because I'd love to check that out.
okay, great.
Um,
Yeah.
a couple of things I think I wanted to ask you about in terms of like this technical cooking of what we do as chefs versus sort of historically what you experience, but like cookbooks a lot of times, especially nowadays, are not are a different purpose. Maybe they're for a chef it might be a coffee table type thing of like here's me, here's what I can do, here's like my
Yeah.
techniques and things like that, or they're like quick tip type things. But historically, they're a story, right? They are like these are the things that we had, and these are the the ways in which we cook them together, and oftentimes who we cook them with. And I feel like I might be just making assumptions here, but like that must have also had an impact on how you think about writing cookbooks and also creating your business, because so much of what I love about what you've built with your business, Alon, is chefs, it's very easy to become narcissistic because you kind of like, here's this thing I created, look, and you get this self gratification of like, look, I made this thing,
Hmm.
and try it, it's delicious. Um, but that there's not as much substance to that of like, creating, more purpose around not just your food, but the business and the people that are working for you. And that's very clear in Pomegranate Hospitality. It's very clear in the book that you wrote that is not just a cookbook, but a story of your experience and things like that.
Hmm.
Do you feel like you know, that time had impact on how you think about being a chef?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I don't look at being a chef as my job. It is completely intertwined with my entire life and my entire existence. And so there's no like, get dressed and go to work for me. It is
Yeah.
definitely, all encompassing. And I'm a father, I'm a husband, I like to fish, there's other things that I do in life that are not, I also won't say that I'm a workaholic. I definitely cherish balance, and I cherish, moments of, reflection, and, um, I enjoy sharing, and I enjoy, being, being all the things that I am outside of like working in a kitchen. Um, but food and my work and my job, in my life, they intersect in every step along the way. My wife Emily runs the business with me, so her office is right next to my office, and we make the big decisions together along with our executive team at Pomegranate Hospitality. And then, we go home and have dinner together, and wake up and get our daughter dressed for school. And so we have to find ways to like separate, our work talk from our home talk, the, but it's all connected and it's all 100%, intertwined. So I, I I've have worked on navigating that and trying to understand it. And I try not to pigeonhole, my life into one thing or another. And so I definitely have just been the type of person that says, here is the reality, here's what I love, here's what makes me happy, here's what we do, and how do we do that and live out our values of, positivity and reliability and respect and
Yeah.
education, all the things that the same core values we have for our company are the same values that Emily and I share in our life together. So, uh, it's all jumbled up, and I don't know that there's like a way to untangle any of it, but that's kind of where we're at, and it's what I actually enjoy. I've found a lot of joy and happiness in that.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's, to be candid, I didn't know a ton about your background or even your food so much because they're very different worlds. Like I'm in New York, you're,
Yeah.
Philly, New Orleans, things like that. So it was kind of nice to do a little background on this. And to be honest, I mean, you have James Beard Awards, you got a lot of accolades. Clearly, you're a great chef. But what was like most striking to me was like, which is, to be honest, I would love to just pick your brain about it. It's like, how do you found a way to find time to do a lot, and it doesn't seem like that you're doing a lot in that you're sort of this is the hustle, but this is just sort of what each of these are a part of your world, and a lot of them I can understand how it happens, right? You have a business, and so part of that business there's an arm of that's philanthropy. I want to talk a little bit about the other organizations that you started. um, and a lot of that, obviously, you work with your wife, which, that there's a dynamic there where you both kind of can be together doing these things. The one I
Hmm.
couldn't figure out, because I have two kids and I own a business and I own some restaurants and um, fly fishing. How do you find time to do that with all of this? Because
Well, we
that's
we opened a
like, do you
restaurant
bring
in
your
Colorado.
kids with? Does your wife do it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
but
Emily.
when do
Yeah.
you fly fish and who comes with?
So, to, to talk about like our pursuit of personal happiness, which is like, fly fishing is one example of something that brings me a lot of like immense personal joy and a moment of calm and peace and reflection. The, the, we opened a restaurant in Colorado specifically so we could go out and spend time in Colorado and be outdoors
Oh,
and
really?
do the
That's
things that
that's
we
that's
love
why
in
you chose
Colorado.
Colorado?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow. That's awesome.
we opened Safta so that we can balance our time, balance our lives, diversify our business, but at the same time give us an opportunity to enjoy what we love about being in Colorado, because we've been going to Colorado for a decade to fish and to ski and just enjoy the outdoors and go on hikes. So uh, we were like, let's, you know, because our lives of personal lives and our business life. It's so intertwined. You know, the fact that we
Hmm.
have a restaurant in Colorado now gives us a chance to go out there regularly, get some work done and work with our team out there, but then also take a moment to get out and enjoy the things in life that we love to enjoy. So, you know, where we decide to put our businesses and where we decide to do our work, a big part of that is also where we want to be in life. And that provides us the opportunity to kind of like continue to balance.
Yeah.
So
Does Emily fly fish?
she does. Oh yeah. She's really good at it.
That's awesome. I love that. That's so. I've been chatting with a bunch of buddies about like, because I live in northern Westchester, near the Catskills,
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah.
like shame on me, I haven't started fly fishing yet. But we're like my neighbor has a bunch of fly fishing rods. He's teaching me
Yep.
how to do it. We sort of practice on the lake, and I
Uh-huh.
want to create a ritual out of it because how is there not time? And that's but you've created a life around that, which I love. I think it's so smart.
Well,
Uh,
you have to, I think that my wife Emily really opened my eyes up to balance, because for a very long time I was like a intense workaholic, and I missed my grandparents' funerals. I didn't show up for my family. I didn't, I had a engagement fall apart at one point when I was younger. Like there was a lot of things that as I was putting my career and my work first, everything else just kind of like personally fell apart. Um, so so the I've had to work at it. It's been something that has been a work in progress, but and I would love to fish more than I currently do. Like it comes
yeah,
in seasons, right? Like you have seasons that are busy, you have seasons that are slow, and life comes in seasons where
yeah,
we're expecting another baby in July. So there's plenty of things that I have to juggle and I have to prioritize, and I can't just go fishing anytime I want to go fishing. But we definitely work on continuing to balance our personal happiness
yeah.
with our professional happiness.
Yeah, I love that, man. I worked in restaurants and I was a chef for most of my life, 20 some odd years, and then started a tech company and so doing the same. I always worked like insane hours, and it wasn't until I had my first kid. I have two kids now. After my first kid, I was like, okay, this doesn't work now. You have to, there's another part of life, and I've figured
Yeah.
out how to compartmentalize so that I make sure that, there's just as much time for my family and for my kids and for my wife, which is, like you also have to have time to, date nights and things like that.
Yeah.
The part I,
Yep.
I haven't really nailed yet that I'm grateful for this conversation because it at least lets me know like, hey, this is possible, is finding that time for, you know, our own personal things that we enjoy outside of,
Mhm.
work and family. Especially once you have kids, obviously, as you know, it can become a lot. But I love that you've just sort of like built it into your life. Um, anyways, want to move on from that for a little bit to talk about Pomegranate Hospitality because it seems like it's like such an extension of what we just talked about, right? And I loved your parable of there's 613 seeds in a pomegranate. If one seed, isn't sort of driving, isn't thriving, then all of them die, and the pomegranate dies.
Mhm.
I didn't know that. I also didn't know there was 613 seeds. Seems crazy that there's always that many seeds in a pomegranate. But
Yeah.
anyways, looks like that's sort of a symbol for the business that you've built, which is really cool. What I'm curious about is um, how do you hire for this? Because you built this culture and you decided, okay, I want to have a place that like where people are happy and where yes, the food needs to be delicious, but a place where like it's more than just the food, like a place where people want to work and that there's a community. How do you hire for that? And then how do you maintain that culture and weed out when there are, I'm sure there are times when if you don't take action, that's probably very hard action to take. The
Mhm.
culture could start to crumble. Like, how do you
Yeah,
manage that part of your business?
we have a great team. We surround ourselves with people that believe in our goals and that really buy into the core values of our company. And that's how we do it. There's really no one person or one answer to it. It is a collective effort. We, when we started Pomegranate Hospitality, we didn't have any restaurants. It was after I left Shaya restaurant in Dominica, and we pretty much it was just Emily and I in our living room, and we're like, all right, we got to start over. I have to start my career over, so let's begin. And we created this company that we felt we wanted to be a part of, right? Like we wanted to surround ourselves with people that were in the business for the right reasons. And for a long, long time, I was surrounded by people who were, horrible, horrible people that, like you said, like narcissistic and all abusive and just really toxic. And as I grew and matured in life, I, you know, decided that these are not people I like. This is not people I want to be around. I have to do better for myself personally. Because like, I feel like I'm not able to express my values and share in my values with people that I surround myself with every day at work. And that was a huge turning point for me, that when we started Pomegranate, we created these core values and we built essentially a blueprint for how those core values were going to come to life every day. Uh, and we spent 6 months, with a director of people and culture as part of our team. We hired a director of people and culture. We had our director of operations, our director of culinary, and we began the process of, building out how the restaurants would operate, what days off what days we were going to close, what holidays we were going to close, how we were going to create work-life balance for our team, how we were going to bring accountability into people's behaviors and how they treat each other and how they show up for each other. And we wrote it all out. And then we opened Saba, and then we opened Safta. And then we kept growing the business built around those core values, and they're still there. And we still talk about them every day. And they're part of how we recruit. They're part of how we evaluate. They're part of how we do exit interviews after people leave. They're part of how we define our structure for profitability. Um, and and all of it works together. And it's also just daily hard work. Like, you can never check that box and be like, hey, we got it figured out. Like, we're a great company. Yay. We have a great culture. Awesome. Like,
Yeah,
it's not something that you can just pat yourself on the back and say, hey, we did it. It's an everyday thing. And we invest in it. We invest a lot of money into it. And, and that's just a commitment as a business owner that you either make or don't make, to say, we're always going to have a director of people and culture on our executive team. We're always going to, choose our wellness for our team over uh, over profitability, and that comes up and down. And there's times that we have to we still have to be profitable. We still have to keep the lights on. We still have to be able to buy food. But it's really no different if you say like, hey, I'm going to buy heirloom tomatoes because it's going to taste better in this dish
Yeah.
versus I'm going to go buy like underripe Roma tomatoes from Restaurant Depot to serve. And you make a choice to say, I'm going to spend more money because I want our guests to enjoy this tomato more. And we make that same decision when it comes to like how we treat our team and the resources that we give them to do their jobs the right way. Uh, it's hard. It's a struggle. We still, there are times we have to say, look, that had good intentions, but it's not realistic. Like we can't keep that going all the time. Let's just maybe try to do that once a year or twice a year versus 4 times a year,
Yeah.
whatever it might be. I mean, there's still a lot of like business decisions that have to happen. But I think the most important thing from where what Pomegranate has been able to create, what our team has been able to create together, is that we really set the tone. And when you set the tone for your non-negotiables, for the things that you truly believe in, then the team as a whole buys into that. Either they do or they don't. And the ones that do stick around. And then it becomes kind of muscle memory of like, yeah, we're not going to be assholes to each other. Yeah, we're not going to, tolerate someone's ego getting in the way of like having a great day at work. Yeah, we're like, absolutely, we wouldn't allow someone to like, get away with harassment just because they're in a position of power, or like, we definitely aren't going to celebrate that, and you see that happening all the time in this business. And I've seen it happen with a lot of people that I've worked with over the years where, like the more narcissistic and abusive you are, the more you're celebrated, the more you're given free reign. Because I think that there's a lot of people out there that like that and want to be a part of that kind of environment. And they tend to surround themselves with people that are like that as well. So, you have a choice to make of like, well, who do you want your friends to be, and who do you want your coworkers to be? And if you want, loud noise and you want chaos and you want all that loud noise and chaos to drown out your own deficiencies, whatever they might be, so you can kind of get away with them, then great. There's plenty of restaurants in this world to go work at where you can be the person you want to be, do as much damage as you want, and no one will pay attention because they're all doing their own damage in one way or another. Or you can say, I love to cook, I love to serve, I like to make people happy, and I want to do that without feeling like I'm going to be physically, sexually, mentally, verbally abused at work every day by some, egotistical maniac who gains power by doing that for themselves. And you say to yourself, I'm not going to tolerate that. And there's also plenty of places to work where that exists as well. And so we all have choices to make. And, I've had to make some tough choices in my career to put myself in a place where I feel more balanced and more comfortable with my surroundings and who I am. And I encourage everyone to think about that. I've done several commencement speeches at graduations for culinary schools, and that's my number one message is that like you're going to want to chase the best food. You're going to want to chase the most stars or the most highly lauded and regarded famous places that you read about and are inspired by. But when you get there, if it's not a good place to work, you don't have to put up with it because the food's not worth it. And whatever that recipe might be, or that technique might
Yeah.
be, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be, is not worth compromising who you are as a person. Um, and if that is who you are, then you're going to find a lot of people that are just like you that want to create chaos, and that's out there. But if it's not, don't feel like it's a rite of passage to kind of have to go through that kind of environment to get to where you want to be. So that's my number one message,
Yeah.
that I
I
try
mean,
to give to
I,
people. And it's based off my
I,
own
I,
experience.
I agree. Although I do feel like there is, um, I don't think that many people actually want that chaos. I think that for a very long time, that was just the norm. I mean, when, I'm in my 40s, growing up in kitchens, working for chefs like Boulay, where it was that, and it was toxic and it was terrible, but there wasn't that many options of great places. I think, and this might just be uh, just sort of blind optimism, that like most people don't want that, but humans assimilate to where they're at, and it's incumbent upon us as chefs or as owners or whatever business you're in, is it's top down, is to make that decision. I think you
Right.
slightly discount saying, like, comparing it to to buying the heirloom tomato, because you can mark up an heirloom tomato. You can't mark up the decision to commit to invest in that kind of culture and sticking to it, because it is an investment, and it's a harder investment. It's a more difficult decision because there is not a direct correlation to, I can charge more for this. There's there's obviously, like, downstream a lot more success that a business can have as it thrives because you build that culture. But it is hard. But I think that it's probably less of like there are people that want that toxic environment, but more that as long as there are people creating those toxic environments, there'll be more people, participating in it.
hmm
I'm curious for like how you've built this business that you have. You have this culture that you invested in up front, which is costly, right? Spent 6 months working on this before you ever even start bringing dollars in the door. Are there rituals or processes or things that like or policies that you could think of, or just maybe just one that helps you to kind of maintain this, where how this manifests in your business, to maintain this over time? Because putting core values on a wall doesn't do it, right? Having an orientation where, like, here's our core values doesn't do it. I'm sure you can talk about them every day, but like, how does that manifest itself in the day to day of your business?
Yeah. So all of our core values are how we evaluate our team. You're evaluated on reliability, positivity, empowerment, education. And each one of those values translates to standard operating procedures that we have throughout our day. So, you know, we um, we empowerment is one example. We empower our team to challenge the to challenge what we do. We ask our team to disagree with us when they feel like we're doing something that goes against their belief, and we encourage that. And so we have times with managers where we set up uh mandatory check-ins, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 month, 1 year, um, where we ask you those questions of like, are we living up to our core values? Are we showing up the way that we said we would for you? Have we lived up to our promises that we made for you? Um, and we empower the team to speak up about it. We do exit interviews where even when you're on your way onto another opportunity, whether you've quit or you've been fired or you graduated college and you're on to your next journey in life. we have an exit interview where we say, tell us how we did. Tell us, what made you leave? Was there something that you now feel comfortable talking to us about that you're not currently employed with us that you didn't before? Or, what did you leave on the table that you want to get off your chest? And we use that information to reflect and be better as a company.
Anything
Um,
that comes to mind that from an exit interview that you've now implemented into your business?
yeah, like, people, we've had we look for patterns where, we might be, not doing something as, as much as we could have. And a lot of the feedback that we were getting was in the very beginning of our company was that um, we weren't organized enough in how we were laying out expectations from the team.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
and so uh, with that, our because my go-to is like, have fun, be passionate, get in there, like do it. And I think a lot of people, and that's good enough for me, whereas a lot of other people need like a lot more structure in how they're being instructed. And so, our vice president, Amanda Quintal, is like incredible at clearly communicating expectations. And so, like, rewriting our job descriptions, our handbook, reorganizing the way that we teach, and how we do pre-meal and what we talk about in pre-meal, and ensuring that like we're hitting on these like very important subjects in a way that really can connect with our team. That's all based on feedback that we've gotten. We've gotten feedback that we were taking on too much. That Saba has a small kitchen and a small walk-in, and we really shouldn't be uh, trying to do a wedding for 350 people while we have 200 people in our dining room. And the way that I came up was like, oh my gosh, you got a wedding for 350? Say yes and figure out what to do. Overtime, get a
Yeah.
refrigerated truck in the parking lot and, to increase cooler space. Like, and, it became really clear that a lot of the things that we were saying yes to were not benefiting us and not benefiting our team. Um, And aside from like the profitability standpoint, like we would pay so much to make those things happen, aside from what our
Yeah.
normal system would be, that we wouldn't really even see that money come down to the bottom line. It just created a lot more work for people and a lot more headache for people. And so we
Yeah.
scaled back on doing offsite events, because we were not at a place where we could do it right. We closed down the restaurant for, we originally were open 5 days a week, and then we opened 6 days a week. And then after COVID, it was really hard to hire people and our team was being stretched too thin. And so we shut down for more services so that our team can have more balance. And, that cost us a lot of money to do, but that was where we were at, to make sure that we were taking care of our team at the time. And now we're busier and it's easier to hire people. And so we can push the gas pedal a little bit. And we're just like in a season now of like, let's try to do more. Let's try to take on some more, because we've grown to a point where our team is confident and they can handle it. And so, um,
Yeah.
that's just empowerment. But, like education, we invest in our team to be educated. We do lunch and learns where we bring in people from the community or our coworkers to stand up and teach our team stuff. It could be about anything they're passionate about. We we close on on Christmas Day and on Thanksgiving Day. And in New Orleans, we close on Mardi Gras Day. And it's not because we wouldn't be busy on those days. It's because we want our team to enjoy those times with their families. And that's something that you and I probably never had a lot of time to do growing up in this industry. And so for the same reason that I like to go and fly fish and go to Colorado and make sure I'm taking a day or two to spend on myself and my own personal happiness, like we encourage our team to do those same things. And we close down on holidays specifically so they can do that with their friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny that the parallels of just, I totally feel you. I'm very similar. Like I want to give so much autonomy to my team and just be very clear, like, okay, here's the result we're looking for, and just do whatever feels comfortable on the time that feels comfortable for you. And just, but people often need a lot more structure. And I think as owners, we sometimes underestimate and overlook that it actually creates a safety net that's important. Where they feel like, hey, there's somebody driving this boat and they're giving us some boundaries. But what I hear from what I'm hearing from you, which is so smart, is people aren't just a very important part of your business. The people are your business, and you're investing in that as much as in the same way that you have to invest in, if you're gonna cure a piece of salmon, and it's going to be better to cure it for 48 hours than to do it in in 4 hours.
Right.
You have to take the time, to invest in these people, and it pays off. It might not pay off in the short term, but it pays off in the long term. And I hope that more people see that by doing this, it can actually still hit the bottom line, even though it might seem like in the short term it can cost more.
It does. We provide paid time off. We provide health benefits. We provide our managers with luxury vacations. We work with a company called Inspirato, where we pay up accommodations. We put like money in a bank that they can then take and use to go and like stay and like
cool.
Take a vacation. And we learn a lot of these things from our partners that we work with. Like one thing that we learned at the Four Seasons with our partnership there is that a lot of the team members that work at Four Seasons love working there because they get free hotel room nights at Four Seasons all over the world. So everyone is like, hey, I'm going to Hawaii, on my vacation, or I'm going to the Maldives, and all they have to do is buy their plane ticket, and, they get 4 nights or however many nights of staying in a 5-star resort for free. And that creates a sense of like a safety net, loyalty. It creates people thinking that like this company goes out of their way to provide me with something that another company necessarily wouldn't be able to. And so we signed up with Inspirato so that if you want to go on vacation, you have thousands of places to choose from. It doesn't have to be a Four Seasons. It could be, there's all these Inspirato homes and vacation spots all around the world that you can go and stay at for free. And that's because we want our team to take the time to go and enjoy their lives and feel like they can find balance. So, there's all of these little things that we do to try to create, excitement for our team, and something that seems more than just having to show up for work. Some things work better than others, and we've learned along the way. And, we're always kind of like pivoting to see like, what is our team looking for? What do they want? How are we able to provide it? And we're all bought into that. You know, everyone at Pomegranate sits around the table and we talk about that and we say, like, what can we do to make people happier? How do we provide more joy for our team members? Like, what is it that is important to them? What's not important to them? What should we stop doing? What should we start doing? And just those conversations alone, surrounded around a table of people that all truly care and believe in these values, goes a long way for how the company works. And it's not just Emily or myself. It's, you know, we've set the tone, but now our team has taken this ball and has been running
Yeah.
with it. And that's the beautiful thing to see. You know, the most beautiful thing about our company is when you see
Yeah. It's a
a
snowball effect.
server. Yeah, is when you see a server tell a cook, "Hey, I don't appreciate you talking to me that way, and I'd like you to be more professional." And the cook says, "I'm sorry, I'll do better." You know, like it's, you
Awesome.
know, we still have like people working for us, right? People are going to have bad days. We're going to have people, you know, that do great in their interviews and like really sell us on them, and they join the team and they turn out to be not a good fit for our company. And so we still deal with, you know, stuff all the time, but it's really how you deal with it and how and what people are willing to tolerate within those spaces that make all the difference. And that's really the most beautiful thing that I've witnessed happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I mean, it's such a great representation of how altruism can actually be economically viable, you know, in the
Yeah.
long run. Um, you know, so speaking about another mitzvah that you've done, which is all coupled with just it's so cool that you know, full circle, this woman Donna Barnett, who helped you many years ago with you know, as your home ec teacher, to help you sort of like turn your life around a bit. You've partnered with her for this Shaya Barnett Foundation.
Donna touched a lot of people and positively. She was just one of those unicorn teachers who went above and beyond to make people's lives better. And she did that for me, and for me, I really needed it at the time. Like, I was getting arrested, stealing cars, selling drugs, like getting into knife fights, like you name it. I was heading right towards you know, jail or death or just, you know, ruining my life. And she saw that I had a passion for cooking because I took her class. I took her home ec class, and I was like, you know, cooking up linguine alla vongole while everyone else was, you know, making blueberry muffins. And so she helped me get my first job at like a fine dining restaurant. She became like a mother figure to me, and she helped me find my way into culinary school. She got me set up at Votech, which I took while I was in high school, which is like a career and technical science school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she introduced me to Seth Schramm, who was the culinary instructor there, who was a CIA grad who wrote my recommendation letter to get into CIA. And the two of them really together joined forces to like help me find scholarships and grants to get into school, helped me get a job at a restaurant, made sure I had a chef coat, made sure that I took it seriously, followed up with me. And even after I graduated and would come home from school for spring break or winter break, Donna would like pick me up from my house and take me to all these fancy restaurants in Philly that, you know, I would have never been
Wow,
able to afford to go
that's such a
to.
blessing, man.
Um,
That somebody
it
would
was
do that.
amazing. And she always, her and Seth really always stayed in touch and looked out for me. And when I would reach milestones in my career, you know, I would call them and tell them. And now the three of us all work together uh, in the at the Shia Barnett Foundation to help make a difference in someone's life the way that they made in my life. And we work with local career and technical science programs to help raise money for them, to help provide mentorship for the students, to help contribute to curriculum and guidance and how the program can be better. And it's amazing. We were able to write a check for $100,000 not long ago to give to the New Orleans Career Center for their culinary arts program. And, you know, that
Amazing.
That to me is giving back in a way that isn't just, you know, trying to make my community better, but it's giving back in a way that also like shows my appreciation and gratitude to my teachers who like helped me when I needed help the most. So again, like through food, like this all exists, and these roads are often blocked by, you know, debris or baggage or destruction from a storm that went through, and it's up to us to go and find those paths and clear them and take them to where they can lead us. And so it takes, you know, none of this stuff just happens, right? You got to go out there and you got to start breaking branches and moving things out of the way to find these paths. But if you take the time to do it, they're there, and they're there for everybody. And you can turn them into things that are very, very beautiful.
Yeah. Look, man, I gotta be honest. I'm super grateful that there are people like you, you know, in our industry, or really any industry, doing all of these things. And I really, truly, genuinely hope that like other people listening see that everybody can have an impact. You know, we're about an hour in, and I would love to like dig into Emilia Romagna, because I think it sounds like we both have a passion for that and have spent a lot of time there,
Yeah.
and a lot of other, you know, food and cooking. I think we probably have, you know, need to hop soon. So maybe another time, because you know, we didn't get much into that part, but this was more than I even bargained for sure, in terms of learning more about like your approach to just creating really meaningful and substantive businesses that create meaningful change. So it's awesome to see, and you know, I hope we can actually connect again, because I'd love to learn more about.
Yeah, I would love
you know,
to.
about
Absolutely.
about all of that. Also, I will probably, you know, I mean, I've been talking with a couple of buddies, and I've gotten some books on fly fishing, but I will probably ping you about that as well, as I'm starting that.
Just put
Because
it on your calendar.
yeah, you know, it's
Pick a
funny. I
date.
actually did. A buddy of mine.
Good.
Yeah, we're doing like
Pick a
mornings
date
once. You know what I didn't realize is like, you don't need to necessarily. I picture fly fishing like I'm standing in waders, you know, in a brook, and you know, like, you know, catching trout, but like actually you can do it anywhere, you know, as long as there's
You
not too
can.
many trees in the way.
You can. And you can
So
sign up with a guide. You know, it seems so like daunting, but you get a guide and they'll walk you through it and show you how to do it all. And it'll be super frustrating at first because you'll be tangled up all the time. And like, you know, you don't have the moves down yet. But over time, you find you're in nature, and it's just like the most gorgeous thing in the world. And so you just got to make time for it. You
yeah,
know, I push myself to try to make time for things too. And luckily, you know, my wife, Emily, really also appreciates making time for things that we love to do. And so I think I owe a lot of it to her for, you know, not letting me just, you know, keep my head down. And she really helps me
yeah.
see the bigger picture.
Well, thanks to Emily as well then for that.
Yes. Yeah.